Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May meeting of the Greencastle Common Council. I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'd like to ask the scouts from Troop 99 to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody could rise, please.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome to our May meeting of the Greencastle Common Council. Linda, will you call the roll, please?
Councilor Adam Cohen.
Here.
Councilor Stacy Langdon.
Here.
Councilor Steve Fields.
Here.
Councilor Tyler Wade. Councilor Mark Hammer.
Here.
Councilor Gary Lemon.
Here.
And Councilor Dave Murray.
Here. We have 3 public petitions, and I'd like to change the order a little bit and take the mural project one last, and because I've asked representatives from that group to also talk a little bit more about the project rather than just the street closure, and I'd like to leave sufficient time for them. So our first request is from the Greencastle Girls Youth Softball. And is anybody here from youth softball?
Hi, my name is Becky Hunsinger. I'm, like he said, with the Greencastle Youth Softball Association. Last year we did a triathlon and we had about 50 participants. They're using the aquatic center at Roban Park. We also used the streets there here in town, Wood Street, Tennessee Street, and I'm asking for permission to use the streets again. We have an upcoming triathlon on August the 10th. That's my request tonight.
You said the streets again, I'm sorry.
Well, we used Wood Street, we used, I believe, Tennessee Street, we went down on Garden Side, Washington Street. Yes, last year, I think we actually used Avenue D and hooked up right there to pick up Napa, the trail. I think this year we would like to use where Julian Pearson is, instead of going across to Avenue D, go down Julian Pearson Drive and hit the new People's Pathway there at Ivy Tech and use the Campus Link Trail and use that out so that people will get more aware of where the trails are here.
So you're not 100% sure, it's okay.
I don't have it mapped out like I did last year. I think I got put on 2 days ago and I didn't go out and do my due diligence. But it was about 12 miles, or excuse me, 8 miles we did last year on the bike.
I'll ask Lori, can we do it pending sign off from the street, fire and police? Yeah. That way you can map it out with them, you don't have to come back to us?
Luckily, Tom is on our board of Greencastle Youth Softball Association.
So, if it doesn't go well, Tom.
He's been generous.
I'll make a motion, keep us moving, pending working out with the 3 city departments, signing off by the mayor, that we allow this.
What's the date of this again?
August the 10th.
Is that a Saturday?
It is a Saturday. We usually start, pretty much early, 8 a.m. is when it starts. We were done last year by 10:30.
How would somebody who wants to register for the people at home
Well,
listen?
actually, I will probably do this due diligence like I did last year. We did a Facebook account. We actually went on Channel 3, I believe. We did some advertisements through that. The banner graphic was very nice, too. We'll have a website. You actually can go to the Greencastle Youth Softball Association, see the actual sign-up sheets there, so everyone who would like to do it. Hopefully, we can get the 50 people who went last year will come back again, and hopefully a few more as well. It was a good fundraiser. I think overall we raised about $3,000 for the Greencastle Youth Softball Association.
How many kids are in your league, roughly?
Over 200, I believe,
That's
girls.
fantastic.
Age 4, they start the little, the instruction league is what they're called right now. So the instruction league is in full season, fast pitch is in season, and I believe the Greencastle Youth Slow Pitch will be starting on the 18th of May.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we really have a good program for the
Got
girls.
a motion, need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Stacy's a second. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you
we'll
very
look
much.
forward to another visit when you get details finalized.
You want me to come back? Okay.
Yeah, not to this board, but just to work it out with the,
Thank you.
with the city.
And so we can let the public know too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because of the street closures, so we need.
It won't be actually closed per se, it'll just be a crossing.
Yeah.
But thank you, I will let you
Okay.
know.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thanks. Our next one is, got my name attached to it. I received a call earlier this week from the Midwest Muscle Car Challenge, and they will be visiting Putnam County. They will spend Friday, May 17th at Putnam Park. They're being lodged down in Cloverdale, and they will be traveling up to Greencastle for dinner on Friday evening, and I was asked to close the square to provide parking for 50 to 75 cars. That just happens to be graduation weekend, and I didn't think that our local restaurants would appreciate that. So we've worked with them, and we'll close off some parking on Franklin Street, or I'm sorry, Indiana Street north of Franklin, the Columbia Street parking lot, and if we, depending on the actual number of cars that show up, we make a request to close Columbia Street in its entirety between Indiana and Vine, and kind of felt that was probably the least disruptive to the other restaurants downtown. It's my understanding the public, it's not an official car show per se, but the public is invited to take a look at these kind of 1950s, 60s muscle cars when they pay a visit. So I would request on behalf of these out-of-town visitors approval for that activity in closing.
So moved.
Second.
We did something like this.
A
for
couple years ago, yeah.
For Wasser Brewery a couple years ago.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I appreciate our folks with the Putnam County Mural Project. And we have Chris Feigl and Eric Freeman. This is a project being, I think, housed within the tourism office, so they're going to request a street closure. But I also invited them to attend this evening to say a few more words about the project. They were up at First Friday last week, and thought it'd be worthwhile that they could perhaps join us this evening and talk about it. So Chris, if you want to start with the street closure first, or if you want to talk about the explanation, either one is fine.
Sure. Well, again, my name is Chris Flegel. This is Eric Freeman. We are here representing Putnam County Mural Project, and we thank you for allowing us to take the time to talk about this project and request the proposal. So I want to just share our mission real quick. We at the Putnam County Mural Project are all about enriching lives by engaging the community in participatory art mural projects that activate spaces, build artistic capacity, and celebrate who we are. So our first project is a big one, which would put Putnam County on the map of one of the largest mural projects in Indiana. And so the site location are the S&W feed silos at the intersection of Veterans Highway and 231. A big focus of our project is engaging the community. So Mayor Dory, as you pointed out, we've been at First Friday. We plan over the next 6 weeks to be at First Fridays, farmers markets, public events. We're going to have small voting booths in Bainbridge, Rochdale, Greencastle, and Cloverdale, because this is really a community focus to get input that will base our artist selection when we get our RFQs out and the applicants in. So we are hoping to, well, get the request approved for street closures. Our timeline is in August. We will be prepping the wall. We have a contractor already on hold for that. And then in September of 2019 here to have an artist on contract to do the mural project. So, yeah, so I think the big request for the prep, the dates would be what did I say, August 15th through the 29th, so a 2-week time, and then in September, this project should take, the scale and scope of this project should be about 2 to 3 weeks for a very skilled, experienced mural painter, and so we've kind of blocked off September, and it would be up to the schedule of the artists that we engage for this project.
What streets are you closing?
So this would be the shoulder of Veterans Highways. So do you want to?
We have a wide enough, yeah, see where that white truck is? That's the
Yeah.
shoulder. Well, the shoulder's right behind it, but we've got plenty of room there. We should be able to maintain traffic.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, that's no problem.
It's not- I mean, it's a
Are
great
you gonna be
project.
able to do that during harvest season
That's our hope, to do it in September, yeah.
while they're,
Well, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
This is the only silo we're gonna go all the
Okay.
way around. These three, we're just going to paint the south-facing sides. We'll prime all of it, but the mural will just be on the south-facing sides. Because this one can be seen as you leave town on 231.
and the fact that they've got green going into that's not gonna affect it at all?
They don't use these silos.
Yeah, They don't use them anymore.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
thought.
Especially those two.
I did not know that.
And we, part of this, so this is part of a Creating Places grant that it's a one-to-one match, and the project will campaign in the month of July, or in the month of June and July. And so part of that requirement is to get an easement. So I know we've talked to Rick Woodall on a number of occasions. We approached him about this project because we think this site has a lot of public interest, and I think could be really good for Putnam County and Greencastle if we have something of this
And Rick's okay with it.
magnitude.
Rick?
Yeah, Rick, actually, I just, I'm just waiting on the easement agreement back. He had it sent out to his lawyer the other week, and he's really excited about the project, and so he's well aware of what we would need to do to access the site as part of that agreement in September, so.
The end of the handout you gave us talks about ways the community can get involved.
Sure, yep.
You've got a TV audience with a surprising number of viewers, actually. Really?
Great, wonderful. So you can visit us at our website. It's PutnamCountyMuralProject.org. It's actually misspelled on that handout that I gave you. You would think my nonprofit sector experience would have me default to org. But yeah, PutnamCountyMuralProject.org. Right now, it has a nice about the project section, about our process. We will post when we're at events, and then we will eventually have an online poll as well.
Chris, I think it's fantastic that you guys are doing this. This is such a welcome addition to Greencastle, because when you come in 231, how wonderful will it be to see a beautiful mural there and to reflect that people care about how their city looks. What is the budget, and how much money do you have to raise, and how can local companies, local organizations, local residents get involved?
Yeah, so I kind of name dropped the grant we're going after, but we're not supposed to really talk about it yet. So this is going to be a crowdfunding campaign from June 15th through July 15th. And so our campaign chair, Kate Null, is working out. She already has a really good strategy in place. And so this is one of those to be continues, because we can't really, with the stipulation of this one-to-one match through this grant, we can't really pre-campaign. And it's intended to essentially crowdfund in a way that creates buy-in over the public art.
What's the budget?
Budget for the entire project is $60,000. So if we raise $30,000, we get that one-to-one match. So we're really only campaigning for $30,000 for the project, and then it would be matched up to 60.
I have to ask this question,
Sure.
and I'm definitely in favor of this. You're gonna have a voting on the artwork?
Yeah, so the selection process is, so for the next 6 weeks, like I said, we'll be at different public events. We're gonna be intentional about stationing ourselves in different parts of the county, at libraries and town council, town halls. And so we're just having people vote on style and content. And then we have about an 18-person selection committee, which is a pretty diverse cross-section of our Putnam County community that would then take that community input and then help them narrow down the applicants to about 5 to 10. And then our selection committee would pick one artist. They would do 2 renderings, community votes at the August 5th, first Friday.
Okay, so here, I'll just put my question out there.
Sure.
Several years ago, and I think Lori remembers this, got a little burned on some street inflatable art. We won't discuss the art that they put in front of the church and what it looked like in the preschool entrance. And I'm sure you're not, but we're gonna have, this is family friendly,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
We'll leave it
Well,
at that.
Enough said.
since you said my name, I've gotta be a downer. One thing that I would ask that you do is, show us, just meet with the city planner. He's out of town this week. And we need to make sure we're not in violation of the zoning codes regarding signage and the case law that has to do with signage. So
Certainly.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'm all in favor, and I think it sounds like it'll be great. It
Yeah,
just
no, this
depends
is
on if it.
Wonderful. Please do
So I
it.
don't want to sound like I'm not.
No, that's all
positive.
right, yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're in good standing.
Yeah,
That was the most phone calls I ever got.
Yeah.
A city council member was that day.
Yeah, we really want this to represent who we are as a community, the entire Putnam County community. And so it's definitely going to be a reflection of that. It's not going to be controversial. And yeah, we have, Scott Zimmerman is aware of the project,
Okay.
but we haven't talked in detail about
Okay, all
ordinances
right.
and stuff like that.
Okay,
So
good,
but
good.
we will connect.
The first Friday in August is August the 2nd, not August the 5th.
I got to delete my calendar and
Okay.
download
Well,
a new one. I apologize for that.
All right, it's just as a,
But that'll be where the final voting will be. You'll narrow it down to just 2 selections.
Yeah, so once the artist is selected and there's a contract, they will be responsible for doing 2 renderings photoshopped onto the project so that the community, and similar to this, we'll have 2 big ones at that August 2nd, first Friday, thanks for the correction, and then we'll have the community vote online and in person at that.
Who's-
Other questions? We need a motion?
I need a motion for the street closure. Do you want to include the month of September as well for,
So is it, so that's, I guess, one of the questions is, that we have, is what is required? What do we need to do? So if it's approved, what do we need to do? And maybe that's an
Well-
offline discussion.
well, that's probably offline,
Okay.
but just to, so you don't have to come back with a second request for the actual painting in September. I saw you included those dates of September 2nd to September 30th.
That's
We can-
the
we can-
longest.
Yeah, but we realize it won't take that long, but we can include that window so you don't
Okay.
have to come back.
Keeping the street open, actually, correct?
Yeah, but we still have to do it because
Right,
of
but
the
we can put
shoulder.
that as a stipulation that traffic be maintained, and then we can give you as big a window, right, Lori, as they need.
Given,
They gonna have traffic control
well,
measures?
yeah, given the length of time, we'll need to talk about
Okay.
traffic control and maybe some, normally we'd do like, if it were one day, it'd be pretty simple, but this is gonna be longer, you're gonna have somebody up on a bucket. So we'll wanna make sure that the traffic control meets uniform manual traffic control devices for something like this.
Can we
Yeah, and
put,
Tom had, was that what your comment
Yeah,
was
I
gonna be,
was
Tom?
just concerned, as Brad and I were back here talking, knowing how that's our major thoroughfare from west to east and east back to the west for our factories. How far, if it's strictly gonna be the shoulder, or if it's gonna bleed out into the roadway, I mean, that's gonna create a really big traffic problem for us, so.
Yeah.
There,
Can you show by picture, if you know, how far that's gonna come out onto the shoulder, or is it strictly just the shoulder, not in the street?
We don't know the footprint of the drivable part of the lift, and we should know that. We'll get that. We know how far it reaches out, but I don't know what the.
how about if we do this? How about if we tentatively approve it pending a report back that the city attorney, police, and street department have signed off on the logistics? So we're basically in favor of it, but we want to make sure that Tom and our police, fire, and city attorney are happy.
there's also a grass shoulder there as well that they may be able to bleed off into to keep the lift a little bit
Right,
away
so
from traffic.
They're going
too,
to come
so-
back to us and just tell us the details, but this way they know they have our,
Yeah.
does that make any sense at all? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve in principle the project pending final sign-off and approval of the street, police, fire, and city attorney, who will report it back to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second with approval with conditions. Any further questions or discussion?
That includes the street closure.
that would include the 2 street closures, August 15th through 29th, and then the month of
Yeah,
September.
we're including street closures, painting, we're just getting them to get it checked off. That'll make it easier for you.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please indicate your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, sounds
Chris
like
and
a good
Eric?
project.
Thank you very
It
much.
occurs to me that maybe you should turn that photo around for the camera here so that people who are sitting at home, most of them probably know what we're talking about, but boy, it's going to be a great improvement.
Yes.
Thanks for doing it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any, we've covered our public petitions and comments and kind of bled into special requests. Do we have any other special requests in the audience tonight relative to anything that is not already on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move to department reports. Most of the department reports were distributed earlier in the packets. If any department head, I know Rod will always come forward to market something for the Parks Department. But if any other department heads would like to step forward and say a few words, you're welcome to do so.
If I may go first? I'll get done and I'll get out of your way, okay? I just want to take the opportunity to let everybody know, because it was on the agenda for the Park Board a number of times, but the help we're getting from Putnam County Comprehensive Services, I'll call him Joe, is doing an excellent job, very friendly, and is very thorough on the time that he spends in the park, so it's very, very helpful. And we're getting ready to hand off keys to the concession stand, so they will hopefully tour it Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get that ready to go for the season. Speaking of the swimming pool in Greencastle Aquatic Center, I want to let everybody know that we are planning on opening Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. I believe that would be Saturday, May 25th. 11 o'clock for adult swim and 12 o'clock for open swim. The Greencastle Aquatic Center is a great place to hold, say, a family reunion, special gathering of, say, your business with an after-hours party and that. So we're looking forward to this season. It should be another good one, okay? Mother Nature has helped us out by providing free rain and water, and so we're capturing that, and we super chlorinated today. The pool is nice crystal blue. So yes, we're looking forward to that season. We got some neat upcoming programs coming up. We have swimming lessons at the Aquatic Center. We have a special WSI class scheduled for our lifeguards, so we're prepared for that. We have again, we've continued our partnership with the Putnam County Museum, the Pacific and Eastern Model Railroad Club, and the Park and Rec Department. And the Pacific and Eastern Model Railroad is now set up at the Putnam County Museum, and it'll be there for the next 2 months through July 6th. If you're into model railroads or railroading history, stop on out. It's Saturday from 10 to 2. Every Saturday from 10 to 2, they'll have operating sessions and share stories about trains, and are looking forward to meeting some individuals from town and Putnam County in regards to that. Okay.
Maybe a reminder to anybody listening and to you, Rod, with the DePaul pool closed this summer, you're the only show in town, so people that need pool passes or want to swim or do anything, laps,
Yes, we
it
will.
is you.
Yes, stop into the Greencastle Aquatic Center the week before Memorial Day, or leading into Memorial Day weekend. We'll have staff there selling season passes. We'll have staff there with, individual gate passes, scheduling family, or special swim parties, that kind
Can
of
they
thing.
also sign up online as well?
I'm going to say shortly, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're still working on the online registration process, so yes.
While you're fully staffed for the summer with the pool, all your lifeguards?
We're sitting with 19 lifeguards. Front desk attendants are hired. Our park seasonal maintenance, we're doing background checks and we have our pre-season seasonal help meeting scheduled for Monday and Wednesday of next week. So yes, after that, please be patient with us with the weather Mother Nature's given us. Of course, we're still waiting on some college and high school help. Parks look a little shaggy right now, but give me a week, we should be good. Okay? All right. Yes.
Opening events at the band shelter.
Opening events, okay. The earliest one that's on the schedule right now will be, I believe we got a couple of family picnics in there, but we are looking at Park Fest starting in the last Tuesday in June, I believe. But we are still looking at a special presentation prior to that. Or it may be using that date, I think, as our grand opening of the new band shelter, okay? With music and large events scheduled that night, okay?
We're gonna honor all the people who donated and,
I'm sure we will,
good,
okay?
good,
Oh, there you go, yeah,
good.
that's neat, okay, yeah. All right, any other questions? We got a lot of programs, the brochure's still in the process of being printed, and we'll outline projects for the next year.
They work on the tennis courts and pickleball courts.
Okay. I can let you know that quickly, now I don't know if it's 2 days or 2 weeks, but quickly, the company will come in and we're gonna do some improvements to the new tennis, or the tennis and pickleball courts because of the cracking that has happened. But the company is going to stand by their product, they're coming in, they're gonna repair it, and hopefully do it in time that we have summer activities on it.
I was gonna say, this is gonna be closed for, the court's gonna be closed for what, a couple of weeks, or?
At least 2 weeks, yeah, at least a couple weeks. I'm thinking maybe a little bit longer, but we're hoping that it'll be ready for summer activities.
Yeah, they're not just repairing them, they're gonna be
Right.
tearing them out
Yeah.
and redoing them.
Yeah.
Right, you're gonna put a new fabric down and
My
to help
understanding, yes.
hold it all together in the.
Correct, yes. All right.
Any idea why this keeps reoccurring? I mean, the contractor, they feel like this will be the last time that this will have to be addressed.
Well, they're paying for it, they're
Yeah.
paying for
Yeah.
it, so I assume that they're going to do the best that they can to not have to come back and do it again.
And that's what we're hoping as well, okay? Yeah, something happened, but the company is standing by it and they're coming in to repair it, so, okay. Softball season started, I got men's, women's, co-ed, softball this summer. We're accepting teams into the different, 3 different leagues. Captain's meeting is Thursday, the 16th, at 7 o'clock here in City Hall. All right, but yeah, summertime's here, we're rolling, so just hope Mother Nature plays along too. All right, any questions? I'll take a seat, you enjoy your meeting, all right? Thank you.
Any other department heads want to step forward? Anything that they'd like to share beyond their monthly reports? Hearing none, department heads are released to,
Ask council if they have any questions.
I'm sorry, council have any questions of department heads? Sorry. Yeah, department heads are released to spend the evening with their family. A lot of our folks have been pretty busy over the last several weeks, and the rain hasn't helped things. So. Okay, moving on to reports. I have several things I'd like to share with the City Council. We've got some great plans underway for July 4th. The company that will be providing fireworks this year is the company that provided fireworks up in Bainbridge last year and got good reports, so we've switched companies. So they'll be joining us. I'd like to extend a really, really big thank you to all the community groups that helped with Clean City Day, including some of our city staff and some of our council members that were able to make it. We greatly appreciate the leadership of the Greencastle Civic League. We had a great group of volunteers and a great partnership between Public Services and Jack's Trash. Although Republic didn't provide the dumpsters, they accepted all the trash at no charge, so it worked out well. Jack's got a little extra advertising, but because Jack's is local, and they partner on a lot of projects around the community anyway. And we also appreciate all the support for our Bike and Hike for Conservation event. Groups that helped included 4 Girl Scout troops, Main Street Greencastle, People Pathways, the Department of Natural Resources, Greencastle Christian Youth Group, Boy Scouts, the Rotary Club, the Chamber, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Soil Water Conservation District, Extension Service, Bootsy, DePaw, Ivy Tech, Big Walnut Watershed Alliance, and Quail Forever. And we also know that there were a variety of groups that just went out and accomplished a variety of projects around the community with little fanfare and no request for recognition. Toxaway Day is coming up on Saturday, May 11th, this Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Area 30 Career Center. So we had a few people that brought things to us that we had to refer to Toxaway Day. I'd like to take the time to congratulate Greencastle Middle School. They had 2 teams take first place at the middle school level in Academic Super Bowl, and they had 2 other teams come in second. The winning teams were math and science. The runner-up teams were English and interdisciplinary. And at the middle school level, they compete regionally and then compile the scores at the state level. There's not a state competition, but all the scores are compared. And at the high school level, the high school sent 3 teams up to Purdue, and 2 of the 3 teams came back with firsts. Fine arts and math and science came in second. And as reported in the banner graphic, Greencastle High School holds the most first place finishes throughout the history of the Academic Super Bowl. We're one better than West Lafayette. So a lot of good work going on at the high school. Continue with the PAW projects. A lot of work going on at Locust Street, so we do appreciate the patience of the neighborhood in that area. YMCA project, as was announced, the land has been purchased. The YMCA team has been out meeting with a variety of groups and organizations. We've kept the hospital in the loop, and we will be having a public meeting, kind of open house, on Thursday, May 23rd at 6:30 here at City Hall. We'll be getting out some additional information about that. We'll open the doors at 6 o'clock, and the meeting will be at 6:30. We hope to conclude roughly about 8 o'clock, but we'll stay as late as anybody has questions. Campus Link Trail, the walkthrough's been completed. There's still some punch list items. I'd like to make people aware that although people are using it, NDOT will technically still have possession until the grass reaches a certain level of growth, probably a little bit later this summer, but technically they have until October to turn the project over to us, and we're working on a ribbon cutting. Other than that, I mentioned at a previous meeting that NDOT will be resurfacing 231. I believe that project went out for bids today, or if not today, it's tomorrow. And so that'll happen later this summer. And then we've been talking to NDOT about the major reconstruction project. And part of that will involve replacing our Jackson Street water line and possibly some additional water line on Washington Street. There is a mechanism where we can appeal to NDOT for some additional financial support to do that. We received a letter earlier this week on what we have to compile for that, so we'll be working on that. Linda will have to provide a financial report and some other things. So that's still forthcoming. Don't know what the outcome of that will be, but if we don't get the financial support, that will be a fairly significant investment by our water utility. So several quick projects there. So
Are they gonna resurface everything or just resurface the areas that are?
I believe it's kind of I haven't seen what the bid specs are, but I believe it's kind of a continuous resurfacing just because there's so many potholes and patches and things like that. Basically, they've determined that the pavement's not going to last another 2 or 3 years until the bigger project comes through. So, we're grateful that they're going to give it some additional attention.
Way beyond its life now.
So, yeah, exactly. And so we've had a couple of preliminary meetings with them, and they're still doing research and design work and stuff. We haven't really even seen a big set of plans yet, just some preliminary schematics, so that'll be forthcoming.
Any update on Indianapolis Road?
Hopefully Vectren and Duke will be done shortly. I think Vectren was a little closer to being complete. We are in the one-way traffic pattern, so I expect our contractor will be out there anytime now to get started. And again, do appreciate the patience of citizens as well as our businesses and residents that live out there. So, so far so good. The stop sign at Washington and Percy Julian gets backed up a little bit, but once school lets out, hopefully that'll temper a bit as well. So, okay, go to Linda.
Well, we're going to start working on budgets soon again. So, believe it or not, it's that time of the year. Last year, DLGF had our budgets to us by the last day of December. So, you know, they like to get those sooner, so, you know, we'll be looking at August or September, hopefully to vote on those, so we're gonna have to get started. So I guess probably next council meeting, we will need to be thinking about who wants to be on that budget committee. So we're starting on the preliminary things. So that's pretty much what we'll be working on here soon, this budgets.
I'll be happy to be on that committee again.
I was looking right at you.
Say, come on, come on.
And the economist next to you.
Gary,
Yes,
I think we usually do 3.
I know.
And the ex-banker.
We have,
So, Gary,
Didn't have to wait till next month.
good, that's great.
Gary hasn't said anything.
Yes, yes, I want to do it, please, please.
Gary, Mark, and Stacy?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Along those same lines, we haven't gotten a full report of all the things that happened in the legislature, and we're hoping nothing damaging happened to us in the budgeting process, so we'll know by the time the budget committee meets, so.
Yeah, because we'll be going to, you'll probably see in the claims, there was clerk treasurer training in there. We'll be going to that, and it's 2 days of State Board of Accounts training, and a lot of that is going over all the changes for us, so. I think there's something going on with water, so.
It's always nice to know ahead of time.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, so we'll be doing that here in the next, in June too, so we'll have clerk treasurer school, so. That's all I have.
I don't have a whole lot, just a reminder that we have graduation weekend coming up a week from this Sunday. Brings all the traffic and people to town, so fair warning, and hopefully we get them downtown to the businesses. I know there's been a lot of construction going on. I know particularly in my ward and into Tyler's ward, but it seems to be going much better. People are going to the website. Stacy mentioned the website, I think, last month. It is better if people go there and they can kind of see what's going on. I know that Little Five, I'm speaking to my residents, caused some problems. We're working on it. I promise you we will have something better in play for next year in terms of how we handle the streets. But that's what I got.
Because next year you'll have the same issues with the streets not being able to use the same.
They'll never be able to go back to the old place.
Okay.
Because we closed College Street.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Adam, how come they can't just go back to the track?
well, I can't speak officially for DePaul, but if I do put on my athletic coach hat, I don't mean that's, I just can't. When the track was built, the track was not built for bikes. The surface that's on that track, not an expert, is not a surface that can handle the bikes, as I understand it.
Or handle pedals.
Pedals.
Right, if
Pedals.
they
See, this is
straight-
right. All I know is that bike races cannot occur on whatever that surface is on that track.
They tear it up. That's what I was told.
Well,
I mean, that's a good question we can talk to them about.
I knew the answer to that, but I wanted the public to understand.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been to enough track meets
Okay.
to know that.
I thought you were like getting me to try to speak officially.
The bigger issue was out by Asina.
I'm aware of that too.
That was the bigger issue.
I know, and the mayor and I have been invited to a meeting that I initiated. Well, I initiated it, and we're gonna work on those. Can't unring the bell, but what we can do is make it much clearer that we have to find other solutions for it. There's issues on Anderson Street. Yeah. So, it will get worked on.
Finished?
Yes.
Memorial Day is 3 weeks away. Ernie and Jason and the team always have the cemetery looking fantastic. The regular ceremony is at 10 o'clock. It's a beautiful ceremony if you've never attended it. And then please, at 8 o'clock, we have our 5K that I've been talking about. We have 12 sponsors on board, so we've raised $2,400 before we even start. And all the funds do go to the veterans section of the cemetery. So please come and join us. You can come anytime between 7 and 8. Sign a piece of paper, fill out the registration. It is a donation event, so bring your families, bring groups, and then hopefully donate. Any money received will go towards the restoration. So we're excited about it. Hopefully we'll have good weather, and it's going to be here before we know it.
Stacy, you spend a lot of time, among others, doing that, so thank you.
Well, it's a good
It's a-
cause, and it's a beautiful cemetery. If you have not been out
It
there,
is.
it is beautiful, yeah.
It really
It's a
is.
wonderful asset the city owns, yep. That's it for me.
I just want to ask and remind people that even though we have construction going on and you're using a lot of side streets, like Washington Street that runs right in front of the high school, it's still a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Please slow down. Don't think because it's a detour that anything's been waived. The speed limits on the side streets and the truck traffic we expect, on the side streets. But I've been on Washington Street enough lately to know that there are a lot of people that are speeding by the high school well above that 20 miles an hour. And I'm sorry, but slow it down. Please observe the speed limits in the neighborhoods during this construction time.
The only thing with all the rain we've had this year, it's springtime, but I think this year's been more of a challenge with grass mowing and everything else. But most everybody's finding time to get their grass mowed, and we've had lots of complaints, I'm sure. I know we have, and we just need to make sure that you're out there staying ahead of it and getting caught up on it, and try to not blow it into the street and into the gutter and everything else. Just really appreciate the cooperation on that and keeping the neighborhoods looking good. But if you have any issues in your neighborhood, you can always call here at City Hall and report, somebody that hasn't mowed their grass at all or somebody that's really letting it go. They'll receive a letter and potential fines if they don't adhere to the city codes. All right, so you always call City Hall and speak to Scott Zimmerman. He's the one that takes care of all that, and I know he's probably pulling his hair out this season, so.
I have nothing.
I brought up a couple of things last month that I want to just quickly report back on. One is the changing the parking arrangement on the south side of Old National Bank across from Starbucks. I've had calls and emails saying, boy, how soon can you do it, basically. No problems there. Then the other issue I brought up was the significant water losses we've been incurring in recent months, and had a really good conversation here in City Hall this afternoon. The Water Department is going aggressively after that issue. Part of it seems to have occurred perhaps when we went to digital reading of water meters, and they also suspect that there may be a large water user or two that has a problem with losing water. So they seem to me to be going aggressively after that issue. The only other thing was I wanted to ask about wayfinding signage. Mayor, I haven't seen anything yet.
We're still working on that. We've had to set that aside a little bit. We're trying to coordinate with NDOT to see what they're going to allow us to put on 231, and we've not gotten a response back from them. And I need to follow up with them along with the parking. We've mentioned it to them. They had an open house here over at South Vermillion, but we need to sit down with them and kind of map out. And depending on what their paving project involves, a lot of the parking spaces will probably end up getting restriped after the new paving, that overlay goes in. So
That would
we're
be a
getting
very
close.
good time to address that, and I'm in the line with Dave. The south side there, even the south side of the courthouse square needs to be
Yeah,
addressed.
we've had another conversation here last week about handicap spaces around the courthouse too, and we've got a fairly wide section on Indiana Street, so there may be more than just removing a few. We may try to add a couple in other locations to help make up for that too.
How
so.
could the new Old National Bank affect parking along the north side of 231?
Yeah, we've not gotten far enough along in the discussions on that yet. Currently, we were focused on possibly removing, at Dave's suggestion, the spaces from the alley west. So there'd still be 3 or 4 spaces in front of the bank there for people to run in and out. They will also, their current sketch plan for their site development includes some parking spaces right behind the building, and then where their current drive-through building is, another parking area there. So they will have some additional on-site parking for the bank and for things like that. And then they still have their remote employee parking lot down on, next to Hayes Murphy Sharp Insurance. They've got a quarter of a block there that belongs to the bank and can be used for employee parking.
Lori, I assume we would have to amend the parking ordinance to make these changes?
Well, it's an NDOT road, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, we've got to do a little homework on that.
Okay.
If it was no parking, well, I don't know. It's not our road, so
Well, don't we list all of our handicap spaces in our ordinance?
we do.
So maybe we
But-
have to eliminate that one at the very least,
Yeah.
so.
Dave, I do know with some of the park construction, they did discover some underground leaks that were not caused by the construction, but were bleeding water, and they were able to plug some of those up. So I don't know if that was a significant amount of water leakage, but there was some leakage that they discovered. And they had to shut water down, and then they got it plugged. So
That's all-
hopefully that helps our water loss a little.
That's all I have.
Okay. Next item of business is, we have two sets of minutes for approval. The regular session of April 11th, and then a special session of April 15th. So I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I noticed one thing, and I don't know if it matters or not. In the regular meeting, we referred to the property we acquired as the YMCA property. Is that how we want to legally refer to it?
Probably,
I didn't think so.
probably,
That should be community center.
yeah,
Or
Or
do
the
we want
Ballard.
to say that?
Them.
This property we acquired, I mean,
Ballard property.
Ballard Farm.
well, if we say that, I mean, I don't want to limit us to just that if something goes wrong. So anyway, I just noticed that.
I can change it.
Okay. Ballard property probably, so it stays
Ballard.
open.
Most people kind of know it by that locally.
Will do.
I guess with that, I'll make a motion. Accept both 6 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept both sets of minutes. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain since I wasn't at the 11th meeting.
Just have enough.
Okay, we have next city claims, so I'll turn the floor over to Mark.
Sorry, I forgot somebody's back down your way.
Okay.
So the, pardon me, a little rusty at this, haven't done since, what, February or something like that? So, our payroll claims for the month were $417,402.21, pensions $15,366.80, direct accounts payable $52,957.98, and regular accounts payable $84,430 even, for a grand total of $570,156.99. Really, I mean, again, the claims are relatively minor. They're small in dollar volume. In the direct accounts payable, we've got $10,602.50 for civil engineering. The rest of it's, our trash services, a lot of utilities, and maintenance issues and stuff like that. So telephone, cell phones. So that's the total of $52,957.98. So there's really nothing out of the ordinary there. On the regular accounts payable, we've got $3,000 to Beck Communications for the city website, traffic signal service agreement to Midwestern Electric for $5,860, Putnam County Operation Life for EMS supplies for the fire department of $1,146, and street materials for $10,080 to Sealmaster Bernath. And everything else is pretty just normal stuff. So with those few highlights, I would move for adoption of the, or approval of the claims as presented.
So moved.
I thought Operation Life reimbursed us for our first aid supplies that we used on medical runs. Do we pay them for that?
I can't answer that right off the top of my head. They do exchange supplies, but we may be restocking some things that perhaps expired or something like
Maybe it's our
that.
oxygen, unless we get our oxygen tanks. Anyway, I don't know.
I can't answer specifically. That would be a question John could answer. You can send him an email.
I'll shoot them an email.
So,
I'll be glad to second it, having gone through all those this afternoon.
Steve did, didn't he? Steve, did you second that?
I've made the motion.
No, Mark made the motion.
Oh, did you make one, Mark? Okay. You've got your second then. You're good.
I got
Okay.
the second, okay.
Steve Phillips.
so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussions or comments? I would like to say one thing about the $10,000 claim for, can't remember the vendor, but our street department is going around and crack sealing, and so instead of buying the equipment, if we buy a certain quantity of materials, we get a discount on renting the unit, and so instead of making let somebody else take care of it, because we only use it about 2 or 3 weeks a year, and so we're starting a regular schedule of crack sealing. This may be the second or third year we've done it, so. We have a motion and a second to approve the city claims as presented. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business, and we have,
Bill, before we go any further.
Sure.
There's something in, and I should have brought it up before we approved the minutes, but there was something in the planning department's minutes that I wanted to bring up, and it's on the unsafe building hearing.
Oh, I saw that, about the vegetation.
Yes, it's about the vegetation, and this is just something as for information for people. Anyway, okay, there's a 1-month delay in getting demo bid specs out for the demolition of 606 South Maple Street. Will push anticipated demolition to the end of July with assumption that qualified bids are received before May Board of Works meeting. The property also has Asian honeysuckle, one of 44 plants adopted by the state as invasive species. The new state law will make it illegal to sell these plants, but homeowners will not be fined if they have them on their property. Because these plants tend to kill off other plants, creating a plant life monoculture, property owners are encouraged to remove them. That part about the new state law on the Asian honeysuckle, I just wanted to get that out for people in Greencastle.
and we do have some information here at City Hall. I mean, we've even removed some invasive species from some of our parks already. And, if we find things, we try to get it taken care of, but, there are a number, they've just added a few things to that list here recently.
I'm sorry I didn't bring that up before, but I had made a note we needed to.
So like
have
when we
that.
did the hike and bike for conservation, last Saturday, we had information out about invasive species.
Is that Asian honeysuckle that's in bloom right now that smells so sickening sweet?
I
always thought that was honeysuckle, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a variety
bees
of.
love it.
Yeah, there's a variety of different honeysuckles, and I
Okay.
don't know if all of them are considered
Okay.
invasive or not.
Steve, you didn't have any questions about the unsafe building issue itself? The reason it was delayed is pursuant to statute, you have to give the property owner so many days to appeal, and then you go out to bid, you have to give them notice, you have to put it in the paper, there are all sorts of steps, so, I don't
And the
know that
honeysuckle-
Scott realized that, so.
And the honeysuckle was just put in there because it's on that property, right? Which wasn't part of the original, that's fine.
Had nothing to do with our hearing.
Yeah, okay.
I was more concerned about the new state law part. Okay,
That's why that's why it's not really delayed, it's just following this
okay.
statute.
Okay, we have 3 items of new business. The first is an ordinance amending the text of the City of Greencastle, Indiana zoning ordinance, and that is ordinance number 2019-3. And I will be happy to read that, and then we'll try to answer the questions. And this is an ordinance amending the text of the City of Greencastle, Indiana zoning ordinance. Whereas the City of Greencastle, the city replaced its zoning ordinance and subdivision control ordinance on February 27, 2003, where it is desirable and in the city's best interest to amend the zoning ordinance and subdivision control ordinance as indicated below. Deleted language is indicated with a strike-through, and additional language is in italics. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Greencastle that it hereby amends the following sections of the zoning ordinance in the Greencastle City Code to read as follows. The following are in the zoning ordinance. Section 2.13, central business, permitted uses under public institutional uses, removal of hospital/medical center. Under section 2.15, general business 2, permitted uses, public institution uses, adding community center. Section 2.19, university, permitted uses, public institutional uses, removing hospital medical center. Section B, special exception uses, public institution uses, adding hospital medical center. Section 2.21, land use matrix. The land use matrix shall be amended to indicate the above changes. Section 5.15, parking standards, Part 1A3. The parking space/drive requirements chart in Section 3 shall be moved to Section 4. We found that as a typo. Part 1A4 shall be amended to read as follows. Parking space dimensions. Parking space sizes shall conform with the requirements, and this is new language, in the parking space drive requirements chart below for all sizes of vehicles unless specifically designated as a compact car space. Spaces designated for compact cars shall be no smaller than 8 feet wide and 16 feet long and shall conform with the following. Spaces shall be located in one or more contiguous areas and shall not be intermixed with spaces designated for full-size cars. Spaces shall be clearly designated by pavement markings and direction signs labeled as compact cars only. Spaces shall be counted toward the total number of spaces required by this ordinance. And then a note, insert the parking space drive requirements chart after the proposed new language. Part 1A6, bumper overhang dimensions. This is new language. In areas where parked vehicles are adjacent to landscaped areas or private sidewalks, the minimum required parking space size may be adjusted as follows. Adjacent to landscape areas, the minimum length of a parking space may be reduced by 2 feet if the parking space abuts a landscaped area such that a car's front end may project into the landscaped area. The reduction in pavement area shall be added to the minimum required area of the adjacent landscaped area. B, adjacent to sidewalks. The minimum length of a parking space may be reduced by 2 feet if the parking space abuts a sidewalk such that a car's front end may project over the sidewalk. If a car projects over a sidewalk, the sidewalk shall be 2 feet wider than required width. Under no circumstance shall a sidewalk have less than 4 feet of clear area for pedestrians to pass when a vehicle's front end is projecting over part of the sidewalk. Under no circumstances shall an off-street parking space overhang into a public right-of-way. And then reference, we've added a little note, reference 5.22E and F for parking lot landscaping standards. Part 6A4, curbs. All parking areas in non-industrial uses shall, strike generally, be completely curbed. That was a permissive language that we struck the generally part. Curbing, this is a strike language, curbing shall not be required, and then we're adding a new word, unless, in the opinion of the city engineer, the drainage system for the property shall be best served if curbs were not present. So let me read it without the deletions and it'll make more sense. All parking areas for non-industrial uses shall be completely curbed unless, in the opinion of the city engineer, the drainage system for the property shall be best served if curbs were not present. Part 6B5 shall be added to read 5, allowance for compact car spaces. Up to 15% of required parking spaces may be designated as compact car spaces as described in section 5.15, part A4 above. A property owner may submit a parking use study to indicate that the percentage of allowed compact car spaces should be greater than the allowed 15%. The percentage may be increased upon the approval of the city planner and city engineer. In no case shall the percentage be greater than 50%. Section 5.17, entrance drive standards. Part 1, C, design requirements. 2, driveway and interior drive widths. For all multifamily and non-residential uses, the following interior drive minimums shall be required. I, 13 feet if one-way traffic and no parking or 45-degree parking. Double I, 18 feet if one-way traffic and 60 or 90-degree parking. Triple I, 24 feet, which is a difference from the previous number of 26 feet, if two-way traffic and 45, 60, or 90-degree parking or providing access to a loading berth. Section 5.25, public improvements. B, sidewalks. 2, construction requirements. Sidewalks shall be a minimum of 5 feet in width in residential areas and 6 feet in width in non-residential and mixed-use areas, and constructed of concrete consistent with all applicable Greencastle construction standards. This is new, the following is new language. In mixed-use areas, the sidewalk width may be reduced to 5 feet if it is determined by the city planner and city engineer that the sidewalk provides adequate public access and safety. 3, separation. This is existing language. All sidewalks shall be separated from the paved roadway surface or back of curb if curbs are present by a 3-foot grassed area. The following is new language. The grassed area may be reduced in size or waived if it is determined by the city planner and city engineer that the grassed area, I, presents a maintenance concern, double I, facilitates additional on-street parking, or triple I, there is insufficient space for the grassed area and does not present safety concerns. All other terms and conditions contained within the zoning ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. This ordinance shall have full force and effect upon passage of the Greencastle Common Council and its approval by the mayor with proper signature lines. So I'll open it up for questions. Quite frankly, some of these things were kind of on a laundry list of amendments and have been talked about at various stages, and we kind of realized that we need to get them done for a number of reasons, including the fact that in the past we violated our own ordinance with some of our own projects. So that's the basis for some of this. From time to time, we're going to try to start bringing some updates to the zoning ordinance. We already realized we had a couple other ones that probably should have been included in this, but we'll bundle those with some other ones in the future.
Bill, why, I'm kind of against the idea of compact car spaces. I say just make it a uniform size throughout the city completely, and that way it just makes, to me, it just makes things a lot easier. Well, if they're all the same length throughout the city.
We do actually, we have a couple different lengths and sizes depending on circumstances. For example, in a normal parking lot, public or private, off-street parking, a parking space is either 9 by 20 or 10 by 18. And then most of our street spaces are 22 feet in length to allow, additional maneuvering to get in and out. Most of the projects that we see come across the desk, typically people look at 9 by 20 spaces. That's kind of a recognized industry standard. From time to time, we get a few people ask if they can do 10 by 18 spaces. There's some industry standards that are moving to allow for compact cars. More typically, you'll see a percentage allowed up to 30%, but given that we're a rural community and we have a lot of trucks here, it was a discussion of the Plan Commission to reduce that to 15%.
I can give you a good reason, Steve, and a good example. If you have we require people to have islands with trees and things in there, so that it's, not everything is paved, it's good for the environment, it soaks up anyway. Lots of reasons why we have that. So if you have that in a space, that will make that space either non-usable or shorter. And so so you have a compact, where those islands are, you can have compact car spaces so that they're not just wasted space and more pavement than you need. The whole point is to have less pavement, which is always good. It's good for stormwater, it's good for the environment,
I called this afternoon, Steve, because I didn't like it either. And I
To me, it just reeks of DePaul University trying to get more parking spaces with less footage. That's what it looks like to me.
No, I'm just so glad you said that, because I said that this afternoon, and I thought maybe I was going loopy. The mayor did convince me otherwise, but
we've had
This made me
complaints from
feel
other developers too. It just encourages less pavement, which is
I mean,
good.
if there's less pavement, because we can adjust the spaces, the space dimensions a little bit, that can often result in more landscaping around parking lots, which was a desire of the council. And it also helps cut down on stormwater runoff. So like the 2 feet allowing the overhang to be overhang on grass, that's 2 feet less pavement and more grass around the parking lot, or things like that.
Well, as somebody who spends a lot of time outside sitting on his porch and watching cars go by now, at one point this afternoon, since I had read this already, at one point this afternoon, out of 20 car vehicles that went by my house on Wood Street, there was one Prius, and everything else was, I'll say SUV and up to Ford F-150s and big trucks, in other words. And that's, that's like out of...
But given the size of trucks today, especially the prevalence of these new four-door crew cab trucks, I've often wondered if we shouldn't go the other direction and designate truck parking and make those spaces 22 feet long. We haven't gotten there yet, but that thought has crossed my mind. A compact car typically would be your smaller SUVs, like a Nissan Rogue that Adam drives, a Honda Civic, some of the smaller, like Nissan has a new kick out that is even smaller than the Rogue, and things like that. Chevy Cavalier would be considered a compact car. But your observation on your front porch is one of the reasons why we didn't go to the full 30%. And it's a may provision, it's not a required provision. So somebody can consider using it, they're not obligated to require using it.
And it's up to 15%.
Up to 15%.
Not
there is a
15%.
waiver clause in there that would not come to council. By the way, can I have you next time I get my car detailed, call them and tell them it's a small car, so I get less? Because when I call, they tell me it's a bigger car.
Well, we discussed different options as far as how many cubic feet the vehicle is and what it's classified, and then that just became too difficult, and we thought we'd just leave it at compact car.
I had one question, and it may not be an issue at all, but in central business and university, we're dropping hospital medical center.
I can explain that.
Well, that's not my concern. My concern is with the community center and the possibility of there being a medical facility in there, does it need to be added under 2.15 general business 2?
It's already covered.
It is, okay.
in that.
We're good?
The issue with why we have the hospital in that situation, if you all remember, last year, we had that rehab center that wanted to go into, down by Tizonicus. And so we took a long, hard look at where we allow hospitals after that, because technically, that facility fell under our definition of a hospital, which is why it couldn't go into that area down there, because hospitals are not allowed in that zoning district. And that's why the use variance probably would not have been approved. But that means we looked at the other places, and it was an approved use in central business. So any kind of hospital, rehab center, et cetera, could go in downtown without any review to any of our commercial properties downtown, and I'm not sure that's what we really wanted. We want retail and commercial businesses in our downtown. And then also in the university district, it was allowed in any place, and again, it wouldn't have any approval whatsoever from any board then. So we're asking that it be changed to a special exception, so that it would have to be reviewed by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they would look at things like traffic, location, lighting, the disruption to the neighborhood, et cetera,
So
all the criteria.
A
that's-
walk-in clinic on a university property would not be allowed now.
It would be a special exception that would go before Board of Zoning Appeals. So it could be allowed.
It's fine by me.
Yeah,
It just means that when DePaul moves its health service,
Yep.
it's gonna have to go to BZA.
that's correct.
I like that. Sorry.
I got one more parking thing. If a car projects over a sidewalk, the sidewalk shall be 2 feet wider than required. Why not just not allow? Just say a car cannot project over the sidewalk.
It's kind of a mixed bag, Steve. What we run into is people put the parking bumpers in to not project over the sidewalk. And then, so you're paved up, you have a sidewalk, the sidewalk's curbed, and then 18 inches out from the sidewalk curb, they put one of those concrete bumpers. And those tend to be trip hazards. And they also cause a lot of problems with snow plowing, because they're a hazard to the snow plows. So we wanted to give people the option, if they wanted to design it, just make the sidewalk wider to account for that. What is essentially dead space between the parking bumper and the curb that is at the edge of the sidewalk.
What we're seeing now are issues over at the library, for instance. Cars are going far into the median, or into the right-of-way from the new parking lot.
Okay. It just doesn't
And we
make
want
sense
to
if we're
prevent that.
changing it to even allow the overhang.
It would be hard to enforce that.
It's more giving the designer of the parking lot a construction technique option than anything. I mean,
All right, like I said,
Or you brought up the library, is that gonna be, obviously, that's grandfathered, is there any?
Right.
Or trying to work with them, because, I mean, you have to go single file through there.
We have, yeah, it's a problem with Americans with Disabilities Act. That's what we're concerned about, and the passage on the sidewalk. So we haven't, I don't know that we've started any discussions, but I just give that as an example. And we need to.
the library is probably a good example of where if they had compact car spaces on one side, that could maybe push the regular size spaces back a little bit. Because that's a very tight site in there to get the parking they've got squeezed in there.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody wanna make a motion?
remember, this has to come back for a second reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
It did pass unanimously, the plan commission.
Yeah.
The next 2 pages, the last 2 pages.
Right. Any further discussions or comments? Again, this is first reading. Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
abstain.
Okay. Next, we have a resolution 2019-2, a resolution transferring police K-9 to Putnam County Sheriff's Department. This is Resolution 2019-2, whereas the city of Greencastle owns a police K-9 which has been trained with Officer Kyle Lee, whereas Officer Kyle Lee has been hired by the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, a law enforcement agency and governmental entity within Putnam County, Indiana, whereas it is difficult to retrain police K-9 with a new officer, and the Putnam County Sheriff's Department has a need for the police K-9 for the purpose of assisting law enforcement personnel in their work. And whereas the Putnam County Sheriff's Department has offered to purchase the K-9 for $3,000 pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-11-8. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Greencastle hereby transfers ownership of the city's police canine to the Putnam County Sheriff's Department in exchange for $3,000. Be it further resolved that the Putnam County Sheriff's Department and Officer Kyle Lee shall make all reasonable efforts to assist the Greencastle Police Department with the canine on traffic stops, other matters where drugs are suspected, and special events upon request by the city. Be it further resolved that the Putnam County Sheriff's Department acknowledges and the city of Greencastle hereby transfers the canine on the condition that the city makes no warranty whatsoever regarding the canine, and the Putnam County Sheriff's Department takes ownership of said canine as is and shall hold the city harmless and indemnify the city for any liability, including court costs and attorney's fees arising from the transfer and any actions of the canine following the transfer of ownership, with proper passage and signature lines. And this, based on what Lori has provided, is the way to transfer government property between one unit to another.
Is this coming?
We have the resolution, and then the county would have to have a mirroring.
We've done that before.
Right, this
Yeah, we've done
this
that.
is the exact form.
Is
we
this
use.
coming to us with or without your recommendation? Or with no recommendation? I can put you on the spot, but
I don't know that I have a recommendation. I will say, the city originally asked for $6,500 for the canine. I'm disappointed that we received the offer of $3,000 from the Sheriff's Department. I do understand, in discussions with the Sheriff's Department where that number came from, but
Why don't you say for the public how the 3,000 was arrived at?
They received some information from a couple of different dog handlers that suggested, based on the age of the dog, that the dog is worth $3,000.
I think we get Sheriff Stockton up here if he wants to.
Can we get Tom up here with me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have
But I have questions for Tom, too. I was gonna let him up there.
Unless there's something else.
Get everybody up here.
In that package, before Tom speaks, you'll see that what the mayor had talked about, where we got our estimates from two dog handlers, one from the Indiana State Police, Dennis Wade, and the other dog handler was the actual person who sold you the dog, John Holcomb, some time ago. The considerations were his age, life expectancy to service, et cetera, et cetera. So everything we have provided is in there to you.
What is his age and what's the life expectancy?
Kyle, can you come up? I'm gonna stay in my wheelhouse.
Okay.
Kane's 6 years old. You're looking at a dog at his size to get possibly 8 to 10 years of service out of him in good health.
Additionally, or total?
On top of the 6 years, no, just 8 to 10 total.
Okay.
And he's how old, Kyle?
6.
Counsel, I just noticed that I think Kyle's personal cell's in here. We might want to be somewhat respectful of. I don't think you intended for that, Kyle. That's your new boss who put that to you.
So 4 more years?
That's-
Realistically?
That's fingers crossed,
Yeah.
you know, conservatively, I'd say 3 is tops and you can look through the documents there that are provided by Dennis Wade. He also is available if need be, get on speakerphone to make himself
So-
available for this. Because we actually didn't get, a certified, an actual document, because when we met with the mayor, we soon found out that it was, and Lori helped explain this in the parking lot. The initial offer that we offered was rejected, so we thought this was a moot point, and then the mayor called me today, so.
Help me here. It appears that the city spent about $12,000 and got service for 3 years.
It's actually 15,000.
Well,
Not in your numbers is Kyle Lee's training of over 3,000.
That's
Yeah, go ahead.
33 months.
Point's going to be.
33 months. We're not
Yeah,
at
well,
3%.
I'm rounding, right? I mean, this is not rocket science. So it costs the city $12,000 for 3 years, more or less.
A check, it was actually
Yeah, no.
$12,308.37.
15,300.
Yeah, well, now we're starting to, just let me make my point. Whether it's 32 cents or 35 cents, it has no bearing on what I'm about to say. So we paid approximately $12,000 for 3 years. You're asking to get 3 years for $3,000.
Maybe 3 for 2.
Maybe, or maybe more.
Maybe 5.
Right.
Maybe
but
5.
If you look at the K-9.
Well, even if it's 2, I mean, you guys are getting a bargain.
Are we?
I don't know.
Yeah, if you look, Councilman, at the K-9 program expenses, you got a copy of it?
We got
Yeah, we got it.
When you deduct expenses for the K-9 insurance, food, annual exams, exams for insurance, vaccinations, medication, various items, microchipping, and the certification fee, that was all under the curtilage and control of the city who benefited from all that. When you deduct the expense, it comes out to $3,641.63.
Yeah.
I will incur an expense if the city or if the council transfers it. I will incur the expense as well for a cage for his vehicle, the door lock release system, et cetera, so the county will incur an expense. But at the end of the day, the citizens are the ones that benefit. And the citizens are one that I understand predominantly donated to this animal. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I got a couple questions. Yes, the citizens donated for the animal, there's no question, and we are very thankful to those citizens.
Do you know that amount?
I do not, I've heard different amounts, so not getting into our $12,000 to $15,000 debate. I heard that Kyle raised around $14,000. I'm gonna stay with that ballpark number.
That is correct.
I don't
Almost
wanna get into like 13 or 15.
closer to 15, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
That money, I have a couple questions. That money was raised to put the dog into the city. Not that the county doesn't need a dog. That money was raised for a specific purpose. We started the dog program because we were told, and I still believe, it came from a question, what was the best thing we can do to combat drugs within our city? At the time, the recommendation from the police chief, from Kyle, from almost all of our officers, was a dog. Is that still the belief that the best thing the city can do is to have a canine unit on the force?
Yes.
So,
and if I can interject, Councilman, the best thing is to work together.
Sheriff, I've never, and I mean this sincerely, with all respect, I don't think we have ever not tried to work as a city with the sheriff's department,
Or the state, right.
with the state, or with our fire departments, or with our ambulance and medical service making runs. I think the city is bent over to do that, and the county's worked well with us, so I don't mean for it to be that way. But this was the recommendation given to this council, was to put a dog on the street. So we're going to have to, if that recommendation is still the best practice, we're going to have to bring another dog back onto the street.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that cost for that, if we go through the same trainer that trained Kylie's dog, we're looking at $6,500 to get a police officer and a dog trained together.
Right, and we probably will not be able to go out for the donations again.
Chief, that's with a dog donated too, correct?
Yes.
You guys get a dog donated. That's if somebody donates a dog.
Right, so if we don't get a dog donated, which is
That'd
gonna
be
be hard to go to somebody and say, donate us another dog when we just sent one dog away. And I'm not trying to be in any way disrespectful to you, Sheriff, because I think working together, but I have to look at what
Sure, I
we're
get
gonna
it.
have to
Business.
incur.
I get it, trust me. I get
Well,
it.
it's business of keeping the county as safe as
Yeah.
we can.
Right, and the thing is, and I'm sorry, Lori, the thing is too, we work together, you know, Tom and I have worked together for years and years. Just like, Kyle Lee just did a program, with my deputies and their dogs at the city park for over 200 elementary kids.
Absolutely.
He has programs, I think, that he just finished up for the city. It isn't like it's gonna stop. We don't have this jurisdictional, you know, Tom's gotta pay me for the, we're not doing
asking
that.
about- but it-
Everybody benefits.
But the recommendation we received to combat the drugs within our city limits, which is where we have to start as this council, was a dog. And we're gonna have to, your recommendation still stays that we need a dog.
We have, yes, we have 2 police officers currently on our department that are requesting to become a canine.
Do you have a guarantee that those policemen are gonna stay with you for the life of the dog?
Steve, I'll answer it this way. I've been on this department 28 and a half years, and in that 28 and a half years, 14 officers have left to either go to other agencies or other professions, and we're losing another one next month because of family reasons who's moving out of state. Can I guarantee you that somebody's gonna stay here? I cannot guarantee you that.
Then then we lose another officer, we lose another dog.
Well, you're right. I mean, we can't guarantee, it's not fair to ask our officers at the pay rates we're at, or ask anybody, even if we're paying them $1 million, to stay for a job. That's not fair. Kyle's got a great opportunity, I'm assuming for you, Kyle, and you should take that opportunity. We can't hold him to anything like that. The question becomes to me philosophically is, if we lose the next officer with a dog, is that a bonus? Does a dog keep, so we get a dog, the dog moves on now to Plainfield, I'm just making that up, who probably wants a dog, and they pay a lot more than both our departments pay.
Combined.
Pardon me?
Combined.
Combined. Do we then lose, are we losing both the officer, which is what Steve's getting at, our investment in the officer,
Right.
but then we're also gonna lose the equipment.
Right.
And I don't mean the dog is just equipment, I'm
No,
an
I know,
animal
but,
lover, but.
I mean, you lose nobody gets to take
Speaking
the,
in my wheelhouse about things a little
Yeah.
bit, a canine handler, it's not turning over a gun. It's not turning over a car. He's 6 years old,
I
and
understand.
he's trained for one handler the whole time. Not only, that could result in liability issues for the city as well. You do your research on it, you bring any master trainer in here from all over the state, all over the country, and he'll tell you that's a bad idea. Again, like I said, I want to reiterate, it's not turning over a gun or a taser.
I understand that.
Not arguing the point.
Exactly, it's not a piece of equipment.
I
In other
understand
words,
exactly what you're
my
saying.
my statement to Tom is this: it makes no sense to reinvest in a dog that we're going to potentially lose because we can't hang on to the officer.
Which is what Gary was getting at with his number.
But can I make this statement on behalf of our department? Then why invest in any of the police officers that we have on our force, because there's no guarantee that they're gonna stay here? We have 10 to 12 officers, I would have to stop and count them. We have 10 to 12 officers that this city of Greencastle has invested in them to make them instructors, and they go all over the state of Indiana, spend weeks upon weeks at the academy training brand-new police officers. Now, I can tell you that at probably any given time, if there was a lateral transfer offered to those officers, they could go to an agency in Henry County and make $10,000 to $15,000 more, doing the exact same job, training the exact same people.
I'm very willing to invest in people. I'm very willing to invest in people.
But there's no guarantees they're gonna stay here, Steve. You're gonna invest in people just like you would invest in a dog.
But
You're not sitting
we're
in property
losing,
with
we're
them. That's the
losing
difference.
we're losing 2 in 1 in
Mhm.
that case.
The difference is philosophically, I mean, we will invest in our officers, and you and I have talked, I know we've cut back a little bit, I think we do a pretty good job training our officers. If we don't, I want
We
you
do a
to tell me.
fantastic
I
job
wanna
training
make
our
sure
officers.
that we're
We
doing
have
that.
officers that are asked almost weekly to go to the academy and train those officers who are getting
And if they
trained
get a
across
better
the state
job
of
for that,
Indiana.
I want them to go.
Maybe-
It's whether we send the equipment with them.
Maybe this question's better suited for Linda. If $12,000 or $14,000 was raised in donations by the public to include probably out of county, people who are dog lovers, police officers, I don't know where they came from. But if these came from private sources, how is the city out? Can we be writing checks back to the people who donated? Because you've got the numbers, you said over 14 or 15,000. You had that, you invested 12 somewhere, there's a couple $1,000s. But my point is the city really out if it was donated funds? That's the question.
But
Is
if
that's a
you-
yes or no, Linda?
Well, I think the question here that the council's trying to raise is not so much the money as the
Retention.
the retention that these people invested in it for it to stay within the city limits of Greencastle.
And it's not just it's not just the dog, remember, we have $3,000 in training for Kyle, plus if we bought a new dog, we'd have to have a new pen, a new kennel.
Do the same thing
all over.
Owns that kennel.
I know you do, I know, I'm saying, we
we'll have
would
to buy
have
it.
to, we will have to.
And I don't, the training for Kyle, that's what we do for our officers. That's no problem with
To lead
that.
off of what the sheriff said a little bit about individuals that live out in the county and donated to our program. I have a Vietnam veteran that donates $500 a year for me. He lives way out in the middle of the county, and I won't mention his name because he'd probably tackle me, and he could probably still take me, to be honest with you. But individuals from all over this county donated to the dog.
Right.
Okay.
And they're gonna take that county donation with you out there, which is fine.
No, I'm gonna still be in the city. I'm gonna still be doing demos at our boot camp, at our schools.
But the difference is our chief has said that the best method for us, and my guess is if I ask our officers, is for us to bring another dog online. If we don't keep Kane, we need to bring a dog online within the city limits. That is the best thing we have right now.
And if folks donated money for us to have a dog, then if you make it right and you give us $6,500, at least we can go out and we can replace that dog so we have a dog, because that's why people donated.
They donated it for the mission of the war on drugs, I
The
think,
mission
not
hasn't
just for the
changed.
city limits.
But the needs of this, they donated it for the mission within the city and the greater mission. But our needs and we're gonna have to go repeat this. And whether they're gonna give it to us again or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have to find another dog.
I understand.
One way or the other.
I don't think you're giving Kane enough credit for the 3 years that you had him on the street.
I give him a lot of credit. I love, that's why I want another dog.
But you're asking for $6,500. Was he not worth anything for the 3 years that he was on the street?
Kyle, I'm not saying, no, he was worth everything on the street. And you know, I thought that I was the one who fought for him. I think Kane was worth every cent. But in the end of the day, I gotta go find another dog.
And he's a very well-trained, very valuable dog. That's what makes it even harder, because he is worth more, because he is it's my understanding, he does a really, really good job.
And you research
And we have
that
had
dog.
dogs who have not done as good a job as Kane.
Well, and I take pride in the canine program, because you understand
know
how
you
long
do.
it took me to get it
I
on
know.
track.
I know you
All right,
do.
because of the past.
I know.
So, all we can talk about now is the future.
Yep.
And again, $6,500 for another $1,000, you could get a brand new dog. You know, this dog's 6 years old. Again, was he not worth anything for the 3 years he was on the street?
He was worth a lot. So is every officer that moves on with their training.
If we have a 2012 Dodge Charger and we sell it, do we ask for what we paid for it?
We're not asking.
Exactly.
That's a piece of equipment too,
Right.
so.
There's a larger context here for me. The county is taking over $400,000 of public safety Lloyd money that we would have received, and you're denying us that money.
I am.
You're a county official, you're the sheriff. It's going into
Right, but I don't
your
have the
funds.
coffers. I didn't make the decision on the
Well.
county council, and that is a completely separate.
I'm sure you
issue.
lobbied
That's a
against it.
Completely separate issue.
I'm sure you lobbied against it.
That's a completely separate issue and has no standing here. At this
It's the
discussion.
context in which I view this situation.
That's your opinion.
It is.
Again, the topic is Kyle Lee's dog. If you're upset about that, then come to one of the county council meetings and address it. But the issue at hand before us is Kyle Lee's dog, and the offer is what was, estimated by the people who are dog handlers.
You know, I will stand firm in the fact that of all the canines, and we've had one prior to Kyle getting here, and we're not gonna discuss that issue. But, you know, as I've observed other canines across the county come in and serve the city of Greencastle, you're not gonna find a better dog than Kane.
I know.
You're not gonna find a better dog than Kane. And then when I personally called the trainer, John Holcomb with Von Bern Training Facility, who did train Kyle and did train Kane, and I asked him point blank, one, if the $3,000 was a good estimate, and he said yes. I asked him what the likelihood of taking Kane and training him with another officer in our agency. He says, I've seen it happen, but it's unlikely that it will happen because the bond between the dog and the handler that's already there, and especially since they've worked together for 3 years, it's unlikely that he would probably bond with another officer in our agency.
So can we go to that statement? I want to hear it from you, Tom, because I definitely trust everybody up there, but you're our chief. You're saying that in your opinion, if we retain Kane, we will have trouble, you've been advised that we will have trouble retraining him with another officer.
That's what I was instructed by the trainer who trained Kyle and Kane, yes.
Plus, it would cost about $1,600 to, or something like that.
It's gonna
to
cost
retrain.
$1,500.
No guarantee that it would work.
It's gonna
very
cost
well.
at least $1,500 to retrain Kane to another police officer with no guarantee that it's even gonna work.
That part's a wash, because if we get, when we get the new dog, we're gonna spend money training. The question is that that we are being told that the likelihood of success by an independent person, and I don't mean to disrespect it, but somebody who's independent, is saying the likelihood is low.
Yes.
And we've heard that for years. We heard that with the last dog we had 10 years ago.
And Kyle
So-
told us that when we brought the dog in, that it was gonna, and that was part of the problem another agency in our county had with the dog. And we're not gonna mention them, it wasn't us, wasn't the sheriff's.
Given your recommendation, Tom, I move that we approve Resolution 2019-2, a resolution transferring police canine to Putnam County Sheriff's Department.
Somebody needs to second it.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
To allow for discussion, I'll let us have a second. I'll give the second, I'm not saying I'm gonna vote for it, but otherwise the discussion will.
I'm trying to force the discussion.
Yeah, otherwise the discussion ends right now.
We have a motion and a second, so we can open the floor up for further discussion.
So here's my question. Based on Tom's two comments tonight, one being that we still need a dog. Two, that we have at best 50-50 likelihood of retraining Kane. What is our best option moving forward? Are we giving up on the dog program?
I think that's a budgetary issue.
That's where I'm going, is fine, if we're gonna lose him in 3 years because the officer leaves, unless we can tie that officer through a specific contract up for a period of time, and say, you cannot leave, which Lori is shaking her head over here.
Specific performance contracts are almost impossible to enforce.
I would never
Then
enforce
there's no sense. Like I said, I'm willing to invest in men and women in our police department. I'm not willing to say, okay, rent a dog for 3 years and I'm not referring to him as a piece of equipment, because I realize dogs are important to the fight, to the drug fight. But I just have a problem coming back with, okay, in 3 years, okay, they're going to the Putnam County Sheriff's Office again, and he gets another dog for $6,000.
Or worse yet, somewhere out of county.
But here's my question.
Yes.
I don't disagree at all with what Mark or Steve's saying. We have a drug problem. And probably nothing brought that more to light. And the reason I shifted to a dog was a PowerPoint that you put together on your traffic stops, showing the drugs and the guns on a 6-month traffic stop. And it was horrifying. If we don't do a dog, I don't think we can just give up on our drug issue.
Well,
What are our options? Because we're gonna spend money.
We have the dog available, as the sheriff has said, and as Tom has said, we have the dog from the Putnam County Sheriff's Department can be called in for a traffic stop.
But there's a time limit, Steve, on how long we can retain. The reason we went to a dog, in part was, and I don't know the exact numbers, and maybe Tom or Sheriff or Matt know them.
That'd be a good one for Kyle.
Or Kyle,
Yeah.
there's a time limit. I remember Tim telling me this.
The Putnam County Prosecutor's Office will support approximately 30 minutes, depending on the circumstances of the traffic stop.
If when we were dependent on other agencies, we were struggling to meet the 30-minute window. After 30 minutes, we have to let the people go. That ends our correct, Kyle?
Our investigation, right.
Yes.
Sheriff, did you have any problems with the language in the resolution that said you'd make every reasonable effort to assist?
I don't.
That
And,
was
and
one of the
also with
conditions.
that, we have 2 dogs. We've got 2 single-purpose dogs. So it's, those chances are increasing, and we have never, other than when dogs aren't available, ever, when Tom or a city police officer calls, if we've got a dog on duty, or we call it out, it's coming. Only in exigent circumstances do we not have it. Then the state police can be called.
Within the 30-minute window.
Within the 30, and the county's 20 miles by 21, so do the math. And
It's tough.
And we won't be billed for Kyle's time or overtime or?
No, he's with us, and I mean, we'll take care of all that, just like, you know, my attorney wrote you have no culpability or further liability with this dog.
Tom, if we didn't replace the dog, what's your other recommendations for us? You don't have to answer that now, that's putting you on the spot, I apologize.
Hire more officers so we can do a drug task force to hit these houses.
And how many more officers would we need?
Now's your opportunity, Tom, tell him 10.
This is your opportunity to throw a number out, and I won't faint.
Well, we have 17 right now, full-time, and those guys are running calls to calls to calls. I would say at least 3 additional officers that can work drug task force.
And that would be a cost of?
Whatever a salary for a police officer would be. What is that, 40?
Well, benefits and stuff.
First year's.
Equipment, academy.
With the county cutting us back over $400,000, it's hard for me to imagine right now on the spot how we could come up with 3 more officers for you.
Exactly, Dave. Exactly.
Do you consider that more effective, assuming we had the money, which we don't? Dave's right, and it's not your fault, Scott, but it does play, we're being strapped everywhere.
I get it, so
We have
I
to
mean,
put in,
right, I get
a
it.
fire department truck out there that's gonna service the county on far less than $40, and we'll get it out there.
Right, and in the same light, Adam, we're gonna service you, we're gonna help you
I
guys.
know, but
So,
which is most effective, Tom? If we really wanted to tackle drugs in our city,
What's most effective?
drug task force?
Drug task force taking the houses down.
This
I mean,
is a
we-
much
we-
bigger issue.
Well, I know it is, but I don't wanna take a step back.
I mean, as some of you heard, we had a gentleman come in here this evening prior to the event complaining about a house that we continue to go to day in and day out, and he's continuing to see traffic day in and day out.
And why can't we take it down?
We've put the people in jail and they're right back out.
So realistically, your recommendation would be, let's get another dog if we can, but you're also recommending that we accept the $3,000 offer from the county, right?
Yes, that's my recommendation.
So can you meet us halfway and help us approve this by giving us more than $3,000 to offset the $6,500? What we're asking for is a compromise so we can do the right thing and get Tom another dog. Are your hands tied? Are you as limited? I don't know, your restraints.
I've got a fiscal duty just like the mayor, just like everybody sitting here. The estimates, and understand, I'm going by experts in that field. I wouldn't buy a fire truck without talking to John or Bill. It's the same thing, I'm buying and I don't wanna insult Kyle Lee, I'm buying a used piece of equipment that is already off the lot. It's not as worth as much as it is when he drove it off. But I'm going by experts, I'm staying in my wheelhouse. The highest, as you look through your paperwork, which I don't know if you guys have, the estimate from the Indiana State Police master dog handler said 28 to 32, and he said he wouldn't give a dime more than 3,000.
But we are a team, and you want to help us in our
Right, we
war
do.
against drugs. So why can't you budge a little to help us? I'll vote for this if it's more than 3,000, but the way it sits right now, it's a no-win situation for us, really.
I'll split what you said was 35? I'll split it with you, 32.50.
I sat here and I took the first 2 costs here, the K-9 training as well as Kyle's training, and the cost of microchipping and the certification fee. Everything else is operational expenses, insurance, food, annual exams, exams for insurance, vaccines, medications, various items. Didn't include those. Added those up, it was $11,119.20. As you know, I'm a CPA. I took a 7-year depreciation, and that's $6,256.77 off that $11,119.20, comes up to $48,62.43 after 3 years. That's using maker's depreciation, which is accelerated methods. Which front loads the depreciation. So you're getting 56% depreciation. But I think that when we add those first 2 items, the K-9 training and Kyle Lee's training, and the microchipping and the certification fees are only $200. So it's basically just the training and the cost of the dog, as well as Kyle's training.
Well, I'm not a CPA, but I deducted the 7,900, from 7,900 deducted all that, and came up with 3641.63. So, but again, I'm going by what the dog handlers are telling me the dog's value is. And that would be, you know, a fresh dog.
Do we have
You
any
guys
idea-
have used him for what, 3 years?
Do you have any idea what
So
Cloverdale?
for a couple $100, you guys
received
have had
from
a good
Spencer?
dog.
Pardon me?
Do we have any idea what Cloverdale received from Spencer?
1,000.
Just 1,000?
Actually, it was 800, and Charlie paid for that dog, and I don't think Spencer gave Charlie any money for that. Charlie paid for that money, paid for that dog himself, and the Spencer's just getting the use of the dog. Because I asked Charlie personally today.
Okay.
So he got $800, he had to pay $800 to the town of Cloverdale to keep his dog.
Okay, Tom, what happens to the dog if we vote against this?
Then I have to find a place to shelter the dog, and I have to make a determination with the trainer, which officer is gonna best fit with that dog and try to get that dog retrained. But I'll tell you right now, I have no place to put the dog.
So we're gonna be putting them up in a kennel. I mean, that's, yeah. Or are we paying someone to shelter the dog?
We lose no matter what we do here.
Yeah, we've been back to a bad corner here.
So if we passed a resolution for $5,000, your answer's no?
Yeah, my answer's no. Like I said before, I'll do 3250, but that's it. And that's even more than what the dog handler said, don't give a dime more than 3,000.
Did he see Kane himself and know Kane himself? Because Kane's a good dog and a valuable
Dennis
dog.
Wade.
They've both been to my house.
Yeah. So,
It's like I can buy a used Cadillac
Or a used Pinto.
used Mercedes as opposed to a used Chevy, and I'm gonna pay more for the used Mercedes. You know, given the quality of the dog, I guess
I'm not
still-
disputing that, Bill, at all. I'm not disputing that. I'm going by, and again, just like when we met here last month, almost a month ago, I said, my offer comes from those in the field who are experts. The guy who sold you the dog said he's worth 3,000. So there's no malicious intent on the sheriff's department's part. This is business. And we're in the business of serving and protecting and working with other agencies, and that's what we're
There's
trying
no
to do.
malicious intent on our part. We're in the business too, of serving and protecting. And I know, and I understand why you bristled a little at Dave's comments, but that is our reality. Our money flow is cut down. We have a great relationship here, and I don't want to mess that up.
You're not.
But we are rolling our fire department all over the world. We are rolling our fire department now to pick up Operation Life Picks. All right, we are doing our fair share for the county.
Adam, as we are for
I
the
understand.
city with the jail coming and getting violent
We help,
prisoners,
but
we're right.
we bonded the jail too. In fact, we're still bonded, aren't we, Mark?
we-
Or is there finally done?
No, we paid off one portion
Just
of the bond.
recently.
Yeah.
Most recently, we finally,
Been long.
but, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
But you have to at least look at this a little bit through our eyes. That we are gonna be backed into a corner here where we are either going to, we're gonna have to make, this is gonna be a financial hit to the city. There's nothing that is being set up here that is, you can share the dog all you
No,
want, but it's gonna
wait,
hit us.
I understand, it is gonna, but just like we talked before with donations, you're saying, you know, it seems like initially this is gonna hit the city if there's not another donation run for another dog for the city, not that that's not out of the equation.
It'll be hard to do.
Well, I don't know that, but the donations that were made isn't taking anything away from the city.
We have-
The investment, I get it.
We're
I
gonna
understand
have
what you're
to
saying.
put something else on the street
Right,
to help with drugs.
right.
We have to do that.
Well, I guess look at it this way, you got 14,000 in donations, I'm offering you 3,250, that's 3,250 to start off with, that's the first.
I would be very hard pressed to tell someone or ask someone to donate to us after we
Again.
lost our second. I mean, you have to, that's a logical thing. I mean, I would not want to go out and make that pitch right now. That would be a tough pitch right now.
I disagree with you, Adam.
I do too.
I
think
I
people
disagree
donate?
with- You know what, there's people that want 2 dogs on the street, right here,
Yeah.
because they see what we do.
But we just lost one. So you're right, the first
But
check.
again, you keep saying you're losing one, you're not losing one, it's just transferring to a different agency, and we're not gonna be, you know, if the dog's available, if the guys need it, call it, and we'll call our other dogs too. So you got access to 3 dogs.
What are your other dogs trained in? I didn't realize you had two.
Yeah, we got 2.
What are they trained in?
Drugs.
Both are drugs? Single
But
purpose
his
dogs?
is, single purpose. His is a dual.
This is where liability comes to issue with a dual-purpose dog. He's trained to protect one handler. And he's it's called an apprehension dog, but he's a bite dog. He'll bite somebody that comes at me, or, it's not a good day for them, if you understand that.
You and I remember had that discussion, because I kept calling her bite dog, and you
Right.
told me I wasn't allowed to.
Right.
But I also was under the impression at the time that the dogs had to be dual purpose. There weren't single purpose dogs. Is that, can't be
No,
single?
they're single and dual-purpose, yep.
Can I ask kind of a basic question here that gets to Steve's thing, and I apologize for not asking it sooner. On a drug type of dog that's a single-purpose dog, can that dog be trained to work with more than one handler?
I don't have that answer, Mayor, because that's not my expertise.
Same here. I wouldn't know. Kyle, I would defer to.
No, I've seen it, I work closely with John, obviously, he's my canine trainer, John Holcomb. And the incidences that he's speaking about, it's when a deputy has had a deputy or a police officer has had a family issue, or they can't handle the canine, they don't jive good together, that's when another handler is looked for to take him over. Because it generally doesn't work out, the dog is a wash. Before we even do trainings with these dogs, we meet different dogs, and believe it or not, they match you up with a dog apparently has the same kind of personality I do, as you might, so that's how the selection process goes. So it's actually kind of there's a lot of science behind it.
Well, I'm an economist. And economists always look at opportunity cost. What are you giving up in order to get something? I did the depreciation too, but of course, I worked at General Electric, and we had stuff on the books worth millions, and we sold it for 50 cents on the dollar. Right, no, it was actually worse than that, but I was trying to be generous.
You guys aren't making a good case here with me, so.
Pardon?
You're not making a good case, you're just lowering the price of the dog to me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to end up there. If these are legitimate appraisals, and I assume they are, that these were done by people who know what they're doing, and they say what this is worth, then our hands are tied. I mean, it's either do that or...
And Gary, that's all I've said the whole time. I rely, just like I would with you or Mark, in your area of expertise, I would defer to you. In
right,
that
and
arena.
I have no
and
way
that's
to...
what I'm doing. It's
Right,
not
I know,
gonna work.
and I mean, if these, they are, I assume they are. So here's the choices we have right now, in my opinion, is we do 3250, 35?
3250, Gary.
But it said 35 at the high, but 3250, we're starting to over nickels and dimes, and I don't want to do that. The other option is to not do it, and then where are we?
Exactly.
Where are we?
We
got a dog that,
we have a dog.
No matter what we do here.
right, well, at least we get 3250, and, I get it, right? We are in the county, although our responsibility is the city, but we won't get to use the dog.
He's still going to do
I
programs
wish,
for kids. He's still
I
gonna
know,
come
I
and
wish this wasn't happening, but,
It's a great, we have to do something. You're right, look, Gary.
so there are two choices, right? I mean, again, I don't see a third.
So we have a motion on the floor, right?
To sell it for, well, 3,000.
3,250, I amended.
Is that an amendment, motion?
Yes.
Good job, Gary.
He has to accept.
And
I accept.
I'll accept.
You have to vote on it. You have to
Because the
vote
way
on
I
it.
look at it, I think it's unfair to the dog if we say no, and then the dog's left without his handler, and is mistreated, this is the way I look at it, okay?
And I've done.
And he has given us 3 years of service, and that would, and the dog's kind of caught in the middle on this.
Can we keep this legal and at least take the vote on Gary's amendment?
Yeah,
not
we
voting on
have a friendly
Just keep it
amendment by
You don't need to vote on a
Gary that's
friendly
been
amendment.
accepted by the
I'll
original.
be glad to second it.
We
Tonight,
have
the lawyer says
we have a
we're good.
friendly amendment by Gary, which has been accepted by the initial motion and second to increase the amount from $3,000 to $3,250. Is there any further discussion on that friendly amendment? Hearing none, signify your approval of the friendly amendment to $3,250 by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the friendly amendment passes to increase the dollar amount to be paid
Yeah.
by the Sheriff's Department to the City of Greencastle from $3,000 to $3,250.
And I don't think we're going to get any smarter here, so I call the question.
We have a call of the question to pass the Resolution 2019-2 with the friendly amendment, striking the amount of $3,000 to $3,250. Any further question or discussion? The question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Now, the county will have to pass a resolution that says
Abstention
basically
down
the same thing.
And we
So
have
I
what?
can make sure.
One abstention. Whoa, whoa, whoa. One,
I
two.
will need your email address.
And
Nay,
no,
one
and
abstention. Steve, how did you vote?
I voted for it.
Okay, so it does pass.
So we have one opposed and one abstention.
Where,
Okay.
so this has to go to the county, but I have a practical question.
What?
Kyle, what are you leaving us?
Yesterday?
First day of the sheriff's
What-
department.
Okay.
And if I can say something on that, Adam,
I'm just gonna ask where the dog was going tonight.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you. My career at GPD started when I was 21 years old. I'm 31 now. 4 years of that was as a reserve. I worked the streets of Greencastle for free for 4 years. It always had a special place in my heart. And I can say that Tom, the police department is in good control. The Lincoln File are some of the best in the city, and I'll do my best to help them out and them out. No doubt about it. We're a team and we work together with the same common goals, and I appreciate you.
thank you.
Thank you. Seriously, and we're gonna have to have a serious, I have no idea how we move forward, Tom.
Yeah.
I do not have any.
That's another
But I
issue.
do have a more practical question. Where is King going tonight? Are you keeping him then for the week?
He's still at my house.
And he has who has liability for him for this week? I should ask.
Technically, well, I imagine he's still covered under our insurance.
More than likely.
He's not our
But-
employees.
Right.
Still the city's dog.
But if he's acting under their scope, he'd be under their insurance too. I'm sure that both.
I'm just
would be.
asking
But
because.
you're right, you're right. It
We
needs
have
to be
1 week.
taken care of as soon as possible.
I just want to make sure, before he goes out on duty, for everyone's sake.
Don't worry,
King is insured.
I've got an attorney too.
Yeah, but I want to hear.
That's
from
why
our
I'm
attorney.
worried.
With all due respect, I want my attorney to tell me I'm.
No, it's good.
You got the motions. We had did Gary Lemon end up making the friendly?
Gary
Gary
Lemon
made
made
this
the friendly
friendly
motion,
motion.
and it was accepted by Dave and
Okay,
Adam.
gotcha.
Nor does Steve. No, Steve signs it, so Mark doesn't.
Oh, thanks.
Council
Just wanted to
scholarship.
remind everybody about the council scholarship. I haven't had a chance to stop up at the Community Foundation to ask. I was there the other day, but the staff was tied up and I didn't have the opportunity to make the question. So just a reminder, and I will entertain a motion to accept.
Before you adjourn, I might remind people to block out that number one more time. What? Block out that number. On the sheet.
Who signed it so far?
Gary, you make your motion?
Yes, I move we adjourn.
Second.
I signed it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in
Steve.
favor
Steve.
signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Number 2.
Number 2, okay.
I always forget to
Send
pay
it back.
bills on those.
I didn't catch the second.